started. Do you see it? Because I'm outside of the country and then my connection might not be.
Recording has started now. Okay, good.
Okay, good, good. So welcome everyone, colleagues, friends. Welcome to our seminar series within the project supported by the British Council. On behalf of Khazar University's team, I welcome you to start this conversation and keep it engaging. We need some interaction and discussion over the topic. After a small introduction by me, my colleague, Dr. Dafaulos from Middlesex University will tell shortly about our project's ideas and mission and goals. And then Dr. Abbasov will talk about water consumption and management, specifically the topic that the board has announced today. So today, as everyone knows, we're speaking about climate change, more specifically about our responsibilities in saving and managing water consumption within Project ARC. The Project ARC stands for Assuming Responsibility for Climate Change, is funded and supported by the British Council under the Open Call for Creative Commissions. It aims to respond to climate change by organizing collaborative initiatives, focusing on increasing awareness and supporting individuals to assume responsibility for the impact on climate change. The project is a combined effort of 14 partners representing 13 countries. Its initial idea sparked during the COVID-19 pandemic when Middlesex University and Khazar University collaborated as the part of the Creative Spark program, supported again by the British Council. So I welcome my colleague, Dr. George Dafaulos from Middlesex University to share the project ideas and goals. Please, George.
Hello, everyone. Thank you very much for being here. This is the second webinar we have. The first one was from our colleagues in South Africa, from Nelson Mandela University. The project is a really exciting project that involves 14 partners from 13 countries, 13 universities. The project started with, after an initial project we had from the British Council between Khazar University and Middlesex University. And our focus was on working towards creative and innovative ways. And then COVID-19 arrived, and we realized that we had a very, very interesting problem in our hands. We had to work remotely. We had to teach our students remotely. And then one of the things we realized is that if less airplanes were in the air, less people were driving their cars to work and the university. People were doing their best for the environment without realizing they were doing so. And it is quite interesting to see how digital technologies were affecting the environment. So we put we brought some friends together and we created this project, which is called Project ARC. The emphasis of the project is to focus on responsibility and accountability of individuals for climate change. And we had 5 areas of work: energy consumption, waste reduction, rethinking of commutement and how we travel, and of course the way we study and the way we work. And the main core is how digital technologies change the way that we operate in these 5 fronts. But then we realized that there are so many different areas that we can enlighten our students and young staff and people. So what we decided to do is, like, each partner is having a couple of webinars in climate change themes. We have a very wide range of topics that we cover. Some of them are like individual webinars, some of them like panel sessions. Today we are really blessed to have Professor Abbasov doing his talk, and Razia is going to do a formal introduction, which I think it should be proper. And what we do is we do recordings of these sessions, and the recordings are available on our YouTube channel. And of course, we have our Facebook page. And today I had a meeting with the British Council, and they asked us to have a Twitter account as well. So I created a Twitter account, which we're going to be promoting through Twitter account. So this talk, what we're going to say today, it's going to be available for the future through the website and the YouTube channel. And what we're working on is, like, in September and October, we will be having the final micro lessons delivered, and we have October, we will have weekly micro lessons where all the students will be learning for the 5 themes. Unfortunately, most of the students are not in campus these days. This is why these webinars are mostly focused on our collective network, but hopefully they will be learning more through the video recordings as well. So I don't want to spend more time talking. Razia, you know I talk too much, so I'm going to stop now, and I will give you the chance to introduce our speaker, to whom I'm really thankful, and thank you very much, Professor Abbasov, for finding the time to enlighten us with your area of expertise. Thank you.
Thank you very much, George, for sharing information about our project. Can I ask you also share the links to our channel and the website so that people can follow us? If some people from outside are here today with us. So let me introduce, that's my honor and privilege to introduce Dr. Abbasov today. His topic is entitled Issues of Water Use in Urban and Rural Areas in the Context of Climate Changes within the Project ARC. He is Associate Professor, Head of Geography and Environmental Science Department at Khazar University. He has numerous scientific papers on biodiversity and nature conservation in the Caucasus and Central Asia and ecosystem pollution. Research works such as value of the water in Baku, application of ecological limits to small river management, community-based disaster risk management in Azerbaijan, mainstreaming of climate changes in the water sector of Azerbaijan were published in prestigious journals. He is a member of the Intergovernmental Science Policy Platform on Biodiversity and Ecosystem Services, shortly called IPBS, a multidisciplinary expert panel council, and reviews various IPBS assessments as the expert. At the same time, he works as a Scenarios and Models Task Force Group member at IPBS. He is the representative of the Pure Earth International Organization in Azerbaijan. He has been involved in various projects in the Caucasus and Central Asia for many years. He cooperated with prominent organizations including UNDP, GIZ, UNICEF, Pure Earth, and Mountain. Please, Dr. Abbasov, welcome. You can start your lecture, please.
Also, we need the chat tool, Razia. I don't know who's controlling this, but we need the chat tool so I can put the links there.
Thank you very much. I hope you are hearing me well, and I'm very happy to be with you here and share my thoughts on climate change related water problems of Azerbaijan. I want to just mention that this is a public lecture and mostly directed to the non-professional audience. So over the last 5 years, we have been working on different projects related to water governance in Azerbaijan, and we tried to develop doable recommendations for the government of Azerbaijan to improve its water management because due to a broad range of factors that affect the water sector of Azerbaijan, we really have deep problems. Currently, the Azerbaijan is under threat of all the possible expected global changes that directly affect the water sector of the country. Water shortages, floods, droughts, and expected effects of the climate changes are the major environmental concerns of the region, and including the Azerbaijan. And this causes many environmental and social problems as well. And these problems are closely related to each other. And these problems affect political and social spheres of life in Azerbaijan. So according to third national communication of Azerbaijan to the UNFCCC, there are big shifts in temperature and precipitation patterns are expected. So I want to start now my lecture today, and I will be happy to have your comments on that as well. So first of all, I want to briefly explain what's the climate changes and why we are concerned on that. Let me share now my screen with you. Hopefully, okay. I hope you are seeing my presentation right now.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes. Why climate change happens? The main reason is the increase of total carbon dioxide emissions by world in the world. So in this chart, we see that most developed countries in the world and most populated countries in the world are the big contributors of the carbon dioxide emissions to the atmosphere of the Earth. In this map, we see that many European countries, despite their large amount of production outputs, were very successful to reduce carbon emissions, while in North American countries, we still see high levels of carbon emissions. Sources of greenhouse gases in Azerbaijan are mostly cars, vehicles that burn mostly gasoline and diesels, and energy sector. Up to 90% of electricity production comes to the thermal power stations in Azerbaijan, which use mainly natural gas and partial diesel. And heating of houses, mostly in Azerbaijan, based on burning of natural gas. And agriculture is one of the biggest contributors because the agriculture is a source of the methane gas. And our farmers really excessively use different types of pesticides and fertilizers, and they always try to increase productivity, and that's why agriculture became one of the major sources of methane gas in Azerbaijan. And municipal waste management has its certain problems in Azerbaijan, and I consider it to be one of the major sources of greenhouse gases in Azerbaijan, which cause greenhouse gases. The greenhouse effect is based on the incoming and outgoing, in the difference of incoming and outgoing solar energy. The solar energy comes to the Earth, and due to increase of the greenhouse gases, atmosphere is able to keep some amount of the greenhouse gases in the atmosphere that increase the temperature of the Earth, which is called the greenhouse effect. It looks like a typical greenhouse when the glasses miss the short wave radiation, electromagnetic waves from the sun, and keep long wave radiation inside of the greenhouse. That's why we have increasing temperature of the Earth. This is of course global phenomena, but surely affects Azerbaijan as well, and Azerbaijan also one of the contributors of the greenhouse effects due to its mobile sources and its energy sector and agricultural sector. So climate change in Azerbaijan happens, and the research confirmed that temperature anomalies are observed everywhere in Azerbaijan. And in 1991 and 2010, the temperature anomaly in Azerbaijan varied between 0.2 and 1.50 Celsius, which is quite big picture. The increase in temperature mainly observed in all the areas in Azerbaijan. For example, in Baku and Absheron area, it's about 1 Celsius. More than 1 Celsius we have in Lesser Caucasus region of Azerbaijan. Also in Nakhchivan region we have temperature increasing in Janja, in Dashkasan, in lowland areas of the Greater Caucasus. We have some types of temperature increasing, which comprise about 1 to 2 degrees. The decrease, which caused decrease of precipitation and flows of all the rivers in Azerbaijan is reduced right now, which cause water access problem in Azerbaijan. So our biggest rivers, Kura and Arax rivers, have certain low flows due to climate changes, and this is confirmed by third national communication of Azerbaijan to UNFCCC. The average annual temperature in all regions of Azerbaijan is projected to increase between 1.50 to 2 in the period of 2011 and 2040, and even later we have more increasing of temperatures. And this map is prepared in the Environmental Research Center of the Khazar University. This map is based on the research on droughts, on meteorological droughts that will cover the period of 2016-2014. It seems that in most territories of Azerbaijan, high intensity of meteorological droughts are expected. Almost in all areas, but very high meteorological droughts are expected in the central Azerbaijan, in the Absheron Peninsula, where we have irrigated agriculture. We have more need in water, more need in irrigation, which will cause big problems in Azerbaijan. So decrease in water of main rivers is projected to be 5 to 10% in 2011, between 2040, even more, 15-20%, 2041 and 2070, and until the end of this century, it will comprise about 20-25%. So rivers of Azerbaijan is drying out, and especially our small rivers are more vulnerable. But together with additional pressure on our big rivers, flow rates in Kura and Arax rivers is getting reduced. Irrigated crops in Azerbaijan account nearly 85% of the total agricultural production. Means that we need more water. Azerbaijan's food production is based on irrigation. But prolonged droughts over the last 30 years created food shortages in Azerbaijan. For example, the droughts of the last 10 years comes more severe. And even today we have irrigation season in Azerbaijan. Farmers are in shortage of irrigation water. And it's not possible to produce as we did 30 years ago. 30 years ago, we thought that we have biggest rivers in South Caucasus like Kura and Arax, but unfortunately, this idea is disappeared because we understood that even Kura River may dry out. Over the 3 years, this phenomenon happens. The biggest river of the South Caucasus is drying out. This wasn't expected phenomena for us, but now we see that even big rivers may be in shortage of water. So Azerbaijan actually is a downstream country. What means downstream country? It's located in downstream part of the Kura Basin. As you see, that our biggest river starts in the territory of Turkey and it crosses the Georgia, then it comes to Azerbaijan. This is the biggest river of the Kura, of the South Caucasus. The second biggest river is the Araz River. It's the same transboundary river, but together with climate changes, we have additional pressures because in the territory of Turkey, they started to build huge reservoirs on the Araz and Kura rivers. And in Georgia, they plan to build additional 5 reservoirs. Means that even today in Azerbaijan, we have four big reservoirs on the Kura River and 3 big reservoirs on the Arax River, but in the future, more and more reservoirs will be, which will reduce water availability in Azerbaijan. Additional pressure comes from pollution in upstream countries. In Georgia, Armenia, from Armenia, we have nearly 11 transboundary small rivers, but they are small, but they are very, very important sources of water for Azerbaijan. They would be, unfortunately, they are highly polluted, and even waters of some rivers are not usable for any purposes because they are polluted by enterprises of the mining industry, which is dangerous, simply dangerous to use and not possible to treat those waters and then they use. So water resources of Azerbaijan, as I said, Azerbaijan is a downstream country and most of the water resources comes from our neighboring countries. More than 70% of total water resources comes from upstream countries. And this water that comes from upstream countries is getting reduced gradually. And year by year, we receive less and less water. It is very, and this chart shows the situation over the last 20 years, how much we receive from our upstream neighbors, how much. And access to clean water in percents today in 2020, nearly 90% of total population of Azerbaijan has direct access to the water. Means that remaining 10% of the population has no access to clean water, which nearly 1 million people. Means that 1 million people in Azerbaijan have shortage of clean water, which is terrible figure for us. And of course, we run here different types of projects through UNDP, through FAO, and some results give some positive results. Some projects give some positive results, but unfortunately, we are still far away from ideal situation, which need to be explained. Climate change, upstream water withdrawals, and increased area of planted crops. I listed just 3 major factors that create pressure on water resources of Azerbaijan, and fourth one is the huge water losses. Why we lose water? Because of outdated irrigation network. Nearly 50% of the total water withdrawn by agricultural sector of Azerbaijan is simply lost because of earth-based canals, because of outdated methods of irrigation. Outdated methods. We use very old method, let's call it flood irrigation, which is subject to huge water losses. And that's why our figure shows that water losses are huge. And we should find the ways to reduce these water losses. Because the climate change happens, upstream water withdrawals getting increased, and these 2 major factors cannot be solved by Azerbaijan itself. It depends on other stakeholders, on other parties which are located beyond our borders. But in Azerbaijan, we have water losses. The problem is big, problem is huge, and it will need huge investments in our water sector to reduce this kind of water losses. And so use of water by sectors, agriculture is the biggest sector that use water. Unfortunately, agricultural water withdrawals goes mostly to the water losses. And this also outdated irrigation methods reduce productivity of agricultural crops and reduce total agricultural output of the country. This is terrible figure. Area is planted crops is getting increased. More and more stakeholders are interested to plant crops, but all these areas that is getting increased are based on irrigation. In 2000, we had nearly 1 million hectares of land that's irrigated, but in 2019 we had more than 1,070,000 hectares of land it's almost double. So the area of plant crops, planted and irrigated lands is double, and it's expected to increase in the future. We have some projection that Azerbaijan has quite big projects, quite big plans to increase its agricultural output. Unfortunately, it's mostly comes to extensive agriculture. So we have extensive agricultural methods, which is quite old and needs to be replaced. So water losses in urban water supply. These pictures are very common for Baku. For example, I work for Khazar University. If you will go to the library of the Khazar University and just look at the street window to neighboring buildings, you will see this kind of water tanks on every building. Why? Why are these tanks? Because these are the water tanks of urban water users, Baku water users. Because we don't have 24 hours of water. They have certain hours for water services. For example, in the place where I live, we have 1 day water, the another day we don't have a water. We have this kind of water tank where we collect the water and use when we have no water services. And this was very common. And this type of water tanks are the sources also certain water diseases, waterborne diseases, also sources of big water losses in Azerbaijan. In Baku city, per water users receive nearly 400 water daily, 400 liters of water daily. But when you look how much they use, when you collect the water bills and analyze how much they use nearly 150 liters of water daily. It means that 250 liters of water per person is simply lost in distribution network, which is quite huge. In order to solve this kind of problems, we should reduce water losses, both in agriculture and both in urban water use sectors. Per capita daily water losses in 2019, before the pandemic, it was, you see, per person, per capita daily water losses per person. I mean, in liters, it was about 300 liters, nearly 300 liters. And in summer times, it was reduced because there was no water to lose. But while in winter times, we have higher amounts of water losses in Baku city, which is huge. Water losses in irrigation, as I said, outdated irrigation methods, earth-based canals, lack of water-saving incentives in farmers. How I would explain this one? Lack of water-saving incentives in farming. Our farmers don't pay for water, which can be here very strange. No one pays for the water. The water is not simply matter because they don't care. And there's a new incentive for metering of the irrigation water. In cities, more or less, we have water meterings, but unfortunately, in agricultural sector, we don't have metering of water. We have just a very small amount of water that they need to pay, but in fact, our farmers don't pay for the water they use. And it's considered as a subsidized from the government side. That's why there's no incentive to save water among the farmers. And more severe droughts have been observed, and the Kura River is drying out, as I say. And this map also was prepared in the Environmental Research Center of Khazar University. We have used different types of environmental indices to prepare this map, which include access to water, heat waves, droughts, land degradation, etc. See that due to climate change, born factors. We have mostly environmental stress in central part of Azerbaijan, almost actually in all areas of Azerbaijan. Without the stress, this map would be green, but we don't have any green spots in this map, which is mostly nearly 30% of the total territory of Azerbaijan is under very high stress due to climate changes. So, as I explained this one, and prolonged droughts and even projected to be more in the future, I explained this, and climate change in agriculture. Unfortunately, our official figures give us very sad news. We have nearly 20% of reduction in crop yields, increased demand for water of major agricultural crops, land degradation happens, and it became very problematic to plant crops and irrigate them in central part of Azerbaijan. Especially small-scale farmers are highly vulnerable to this kind of water stresses. They don't get water in time, so that's why we have reduced crop yields in Azerbaijan, which is very dangerous. And Azerbaijan started to implement national adaptation plan, but it's just started. It was started last year, and there's the special created water commission works on development of the adaptation plan, which will consider use water more effectively, more efficiently, and to develop drought-resistant agriculture, to shift from outdated irrigation methods to the more modern methods, to implement necessary activities to create incentives for paying water, for saving water, and educating people, and also shifting from outdated irrigation methods to the more modern methods. For example, farmers are getting big subsidies if they use modern irrigation methods like sprinkler irrigation or drop irrigation, and which gives very positive results in some pilot projects. I want to inform you that right now we have a project with FAO, Food and Agriculture Organization of United Nations. We have one pilot area in central part of Azerbaijan, which will be maintained with modern irrigation technologies. Also, we have some options to desalinate Caspian Sea water. So, salinization of the Caspian Sea is 3 times less than the ocean water, and that's why it will not require big expenses on that. And in some small-scale islands, Azerbaijan also started to build water desalination stations. Also, very big potential reuse of wastewater in big cities. This is the Rovshan aeration station, Rovshan water treatment station. It produces nearly 4 cubic meters of water per second, of wastewater per second, which is directly goes to the Caspian Sea. But there's a big potential using of this kind of waters in water sector again, clean and reuse. Especially it can be used in agricultural sector. And drought-resistant agriculture became priority for Azerbaijan, and we have some opportunities. And in drinking water supply, in irrigation, we are now looking to more comprehensive and modern methods of reduction of water losses. And It's expected that the whole distribution network will be changed in Azerbaijan, and water withdrawals will be reduced. And we need to update water legislation and environmental legislation of Azerbaijan, where climate change should be mainstreamed. Climate change should be mainstreamed to water sector totally, to all subsectors of the water sector, and also we should update our legislation taking into account climate change, also taking into account sustainable development goals of the UN. This is just a very interesting figure, water footprint, and the Minister of Education of Azerbaijan started to develop this kind of projects for secondary school students. They are able to calculate their water footprints. It's just to inform you that what's water footprint. It's the amount of water used daily. Which is called the water footprint. For example, for 1 cup of tea, nearly 90 liters of water is, let's say, wasted. Why? Because tea is ground, tea also requires water, and and 1 cup of the tea means 90 liters of water, because as a crop, tea requires irrigation. I will just mention that in southern part of Azerbaijan, we produce tea in Azerbaijan. So, in terms of water footprint, the beef is quite expensive. 1 kilogram of the beef requires of nearly 5,000 of water. So this figure shows that how much water we use daily. So we can reduce our water footprint, and we have developed educational materials for school children to explain them as an adaptation measure to reduce their water footprints. And virtual water trade should be priority for Azerbaijan as well. Azerbaijan should reject crops that need more water. For example, alfalfa production in Azerbaijan is quite big because it supply our agricultural sector with alfalfa. So we should reduce, because most of the water in the agricultural sector goes to the production of this kind of rice and alfalfa. So we should reduce, and maybe some types of agricultural goods can be imported to Azerbaijan. I mean, especially beef. Beef can be imported to Azerbaijan, and we may develop water-resistant agriculture. And that's all I wanted to say today. If you have any other comments and questions, I would be happy to answer. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. This is really, that was a very interesting talk. I have a couple of questions myself, and then we can open it to everyone. My question is, when we're talking about young students, I mean, because we need to educate the young people as well. And my main concern is that for a 20-year-old people, they think, okay, it's 2 Celsius. So this summer, instead of 31 degrees, it will be 33 degrees. It's going to be a little bit hotter. How can we make sure that the young population understands that even 1 degree Celsius, it's a huge impact, as you also discussed in your presentation for society? What should we do in our universities to increase awareness?
Thank you very much. Very interesting question. First of all, we should create very comprehensive, modern climate change curricula, and should be climate change mainstreamed to our school curricula and the university curricula, which can be very big idea in the future. For example, I worked for Turkmenistan in UNICEF. What they did when I went to Turkmenistan, they put all the school textbooks on me. Of course, in Russian, because it was very hard to understand me Turkmen language in Russian, and I revised these textbooks. I revised chemistry, physics, geography, biology, and found gaps where climate change issues should be integrated, and show here you talk about carbon in chemistry, okay? You should talk about greenhouse effects caused by carbon dioxide. You talk about energy in physics, you should integrate non-renewable energy and explain why non-renewable energy is important. Also in geography, we talk about climate, we explain what's climate, but we always leave the topic of climate change. So climate change should be integrated into the school and university curricula, and it should be mandatory. This is my answer for now.
And I have a second question, and then sorry, Razia, I'm going to ask the two questions,
Okay.
and then we pass to Razia. Okay, so in terms of climate change, in terms of the daily things that we could change, and I'd really like a suggestion from the staff perspective and the student perspective, because we're focusing on universities. If you could advise us as an expert, one thing that we should advise our students to change, and one thing that as staff to change in order to be able to try to reverse climate change. Any suggestions? And that's my second and final question, so thank you.
Excuse me, repeat your question. I missed some words.
If we were going to change our lifestyle, like the students,
okay.
a word of advice for our students, but also for academics, for the university professors, what should we do? The first thing that we should actually do, try to reverse climate change. Thank you.
Okay. What I should launch carbon footprint requirement and water footprint requirement for the university. Students firstly should be able to see how much carbon is emitted from the university, how much water is used daily. We should build climate change friendly university, and climate change should be mainstreamed into the university life. But everybody should care about that. Academics, students, and all the staff, and be interested in reduction of their carbon footprints. Actually, carbon footprint is another topic we can discuss widely, but today we are talking about water and carbon footprint and water footprint. So we should educate people, and it should be mandatory. Actually, Hazar University already 2 years tries to join SDG universities, and we were successful in some points.
Rovshan Madam, we have lost you. Are you with us?
Yes, I'm hearing you.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm with you. I see you well.
Thank you. Thank you very much, George, for the question, and thank you very much, Dr. Abbasov, for comprehensive presentation. You enlightened us with this knowledge about water consumption and how we have to manage those. Also, I think I was going to ask almost the same question, George, as you did, but you asked, and I will go to repeat it. As a human being, right, as a simple person, for example, me or my family members, what is the single thing we have to do daily so that we can save the water for our future? And the second question, I will ask the second question then later. Thank you.
Okay. First thing you should do, you should know exactly your carbon footprint, how much carbon your family emits, and you should know your water footprint. It looks like some persons that keep that tries to be slim, measure themselves on the scale every day. You understand me? Some persons do this daily. How much is my weight? So every day we should be able to know that. Of course, we should educate people and why one glass of tea is equal to the 90 liters of water. Sometimes we often make tea and tea stays on the table. Do we really need tea? Maybe we had to drink just still water instead of that tea. This kind of activities should be conducted, and we should train people, of course.
Yeah, Dr. Abbasov, this project is for increasing the awareness and bringing more responsibility, assuming more responsibility in people towards climate change. And one of the target groups is businesses. And you mentioned about farmers, how much they spend money on the water, or how much they consume the water, and what happens to the rivers and lands. But how we should communicate this message to farmers? You know, if we keep communicating it in a very educated way, I'm afraid that there will be some misunderstanding and confusion in our communication. So what are from your own experience, what are the best ways to communicate these messages to farmers?
First of all, large-scale awareness, public awareness work should be done. But it's not enough. For example, for our farmers, it's not enough. We should create incentive. We should create motivation to save water. As I mentioned, they don't pay for our water. Why should we be interested in saving water? So it's very important to find ways to develop tools that will enforce them to save water firstly. After some period, they will start to understand importance. Because, you know, we have upstream and downstream farmers. The upstream farmers, who is close to the source of water, simply takes and wastes water. Downstream water simply don't have a water because water is not reached. So, if there will be incentive both for example, quite good water prices, they will save water, and water will be for everybody, and they will understand advantage of this.
Thank you very much, Dr. Abbasov. If anyone has a question, please
Thank you very much.
Just step in and ask your question.
Yeah, I see we have a lot of people. Yeah. So. Actually, these ideas may go these ideas can be very good ground for the Erasmus Plus applications. So we can use this opportunity with universities and apply for Erasmus Plus.
Actually, Professor Abbasov, the majority of the people here, we know each other from Erasmus Plus proposals. This is why you see both Razia and myself smiling, because this consortium is the beginning of hopefully several applications in the coming year. I'm really happy to see, I've seen a couple of my Middlesex colleagues, I've seen people from South Africa as well, I've seen colleagues from Georgia, so we had a good round of people. Just to remind everyone that tomorrow University of Mostar is taking the lead, and we have we're a victim of our own success. We have more than 30 webinars now, so because we ran out of time, we have 2 or 3 per week. But I'm pretty sure that a lot of people will be. We had 18 partners joining at a certain point. Razia, if you can send me an email with the list of participants, how they appeared in the log, because we need to report to the British Council. At this stage, I wanted to thank very much Professor Abbasov for a very interesting talk. I hope you do not mind. We will be uploading the video on our YouTube channel. And on our website, we will be having your slides. So Razia will be probably sending slides and the report of who has attended. Once again, thank you so very much. It was really, really useful. Hopefully, one step at a time, all of us together will help to reverse climate change and inform our young students. And we are at your disposals. You can liaise with Razia because we're definitely working on our Erasmus proposals on this topic in 2022.
Yes, George, we almost have a ready application once we have applied with this water management to European Commission. So there is almost a project, and then we have to revise it.
I'm pretty sure we have a lot of colleagues who will be keen. Razia, I know that we need to have a meeting immediately after that. So what I will do is I will let you to conclude the webinar with your own word, with your as you're the main host. And I'll wait for your team's call. So again, Dr. Abbasov, thank you very much for my side.
I want just add that new people are coming to our webinar, and just please let them know that where these records will be available for later listenings.
Yeah, we don't have. I don't see the chat. That's my main issue. But we have a website, Project Arc. Everybody should know this by now. But on the next posters, we will have the website, the YouTube channel, and so on. So Razia, just pass this around at Kazar as well.
Yes, yes, I will email my colleagues here too. Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you very much for joining. Thank you very much, Professor Abbasov, for delivering these lectures, and thank you, George, for coordinating the meeting. And this was our first seminar within Creative Commissions, and the next one will be in September on One Health related to the climate change again. It was a pleasure to have this discussion, and I will see you during our next seminars. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you, colleagues. Bye-bye. Have a nice day.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Bye.